Hello and welcome to Zooming French. Today we're going to look at the little letter E, la lettre E en français. Yes, it's all about accents, consonants and combinations. So sit back, enjoy, and I hope that you learn a lot. Bonjour, je m'appelle John Steven, je suis le fondateur de Zooming French et je suis coach de français pour les anglophones qui veulent améliorer leur niveau de français. J'habite en France depuis plusieurs années et je peux vous aider quoi que ce soit votre niveau actuel. So, hello again, my name is John Steven of Zooming French. All the details you'll find just there on the screen. Today, we're going to talk about a little letter in French, and the little letter E in particular, because this letter can be pronounced in many different ways, as we will see. And that pronunciation is essential for speaking French correctly and being understood. So let's get going. The letter E. Notice my lips, by the way. The sound comes from the back of the sound box, back or the way back of the throat. It's not it's not it's okay, and that pronunciation is essential en français. So we use it every day in all the little words that we use, such as je, me, ce, te, de, le, etc., etc. And again, the little letter E, when it's found in the middle of a word, is usually pronounced as E. Obviously, there are some exceptions, as in everything in French. However, usually you'll pronounce it as E. So let's look at a few verbs. Common verbs, which I'm sure you already know. The verb appeler, to call, regarder, and jeter, to throw. Please note that little E must be pronounced as an E, otherwise it will sound incorrect and possibly not even understood. So, appeler, regarder, jeter. For example, ce soir, je vais regarder la télé. This evening, I'm going to watch the TV. Regarder. However, let's look what happens when the E is at the end of the word. That's E. Well, it is not pronounced at all, never. And again, we are talking about the letter E without any accents. We'll come on to those because some of you are already thinking, yes, but what about the accents? We're going to come on to that. Just an E at the end of the word is never pronounced. So here are some examples. Une voiture, a car. Un homme. Again, the letter E is silent. Une fille, a girl or a daughter. Une ville, a town. Un oncle, an uncle. So the letter E at the end of the word is not pronounced. It is silent. However, look what happens when you put two consonants after the E in a word. So this changes the sound dramatically. It's like a long E sound, as in the English word energy. So a few examples would be une description, a description. Notice that the E has changed into E because of the double consonants S and C. So, notice the lips, the mouth. It's very long. Une description. And I do advise you to practice this yourselves. It will not come naturally because in English, we don't really have these long sounds particularly. So, une description. Look at the second one. Le responsable de la banque. Le responsable de la banque, the person in charge of the bank. Le responsable. Le restaurant. Well, of course, we all know about restaurant, but I'm sure you never thought that the E in restaurant was created due to the two consonants S and T following the E. Finally, le respect pour la loi. Le respect pour la loi. Respect for the law. These are just 4 little examples. There are literally thousands, but what I'm doing here is to giving you the foundation, the fundamentals, so that when you see words, perhaps words with which you are not very familiar, you will automatically have a very good chance of pronouncing it correctly because you have assimilated these rules. Let's look at this. Again, the 2 consonants. Now we've got a very interesting application because these are verbs which we already know. We've already spoken about them a little earlier. The verbs appeler and jeter. Again, the E is followed by a single consonant in appeler. So it's appeler, and likewise with the verb jeter, followed by a single consonant, so it's jeter. But let's look at the verb appeler. When you conjugate this verb, as in you go from je through to il, it goes j'appelle, tu appelles, il appelle. Okay, so now we have doubled up on the consonants, a double letter L following the E, thus forcing the sound to be E as opposed to E. So, j'appelle, tu appelles, il appelle. What happens here in the nous and vous forms? We have lost the double L. So therefore, we now know that is no longer E, it is back to its original E. Nous appelons, vous appelez, and then we continue. Ils appellent, ils appellent. So the double L in the first, second, third, singular, and the third person, plural, are double L, which then forces the E sound. J'appelle, tu appelles, il appelle, nous appelons, vous appelez, ils appellent. So we move on to the verb jeter, to throw. Je jette, double T. Tu jettes, double T. Il jette, double T. Nous jetons, one T. Vous jetez, one T. Il jette, double T. So again, the double consonant following the letter E changes the pronunciation dramatically into E. Okay. You with me so far? Bravo. On continue. Now we're going to change to the letter E, which has an accent aigu. Accent aigu, ça veut dire en anglais an acute accent, an acute accent. This is a short e sound, like in the English egg. It is short. It is not like the e sound. It is more e, very short. Again, difference in, you can see from the lips, e. It's not e. You can tell there's a dramatic difference. So, some examples. Un éléphant, éléphant. La vérité. So let's look at la vérité, the second one. What would happen if we would remove the two accents from the word la vérité? Come on. What would it be? Oui, la vérité, la vérité, which of course means nothing at all, but what it means is that without the accent aigu, it would have to be la vérité. But with the accents, la vérité, la vérité. Likewise, du café. Oui, je veux bien du café. Je veux bien du café. Ça, c'est bien alors. Moi, j'adore le café, moi. Mais... OK, le café, il y a un accent. Il y a un accent sur la lettre E. La lettre E se transforme en E, du café. And of course, all the past participles of ER verbs, what do? You take off the ER and you replace it with, oui, E, accent aigu. Voilà. So, for example, the verb manger. J'ai mangé, c'est le passé composé. And if you have done the passé composé, you will know this because these are the past participles. So, j'ai mangé, je suis allé, j'ai habité, and all those past participles, they all end in E acute, changing the E, which would be non-pronounced at the end, if it hadn't been for the accent aigu. Bon, très bien, on continue. The accent grave, the grave accent en anglais, accent grave. So this is that long E sound that we've already come across, that E sound, okay? And you say, well, how come they didn't double up the consonants? Well, you can't always double up the consonants because in the verb le père, to make the R sound, le père, la mère, le frère, the little word après, meaning after, après. It's not après, it's not après, it's après, après. And then the best one, of course, is un élève, un élève. This now combines the two accents. Notice the accent aigu over the first letter E, meaning the short letter E, followed by the accent grave over the second letter E, which makes it an E sound. So, un élève, and of course, just to complete the picture, un élève ends with an E, but because it is at the end of the word and it has no accent, it is silent. Un élève, un élève. So let's look at the circumflex accent over the letter E. Well, this mostly gives the sound of e as in an grave accent again. And it really has been put there to denote a word possibly originating from the Latin and the absence of the letter S. So we say la fenêtre, meaning the window. Fenestra, I think, is the Italian and was certainly from the root Latin. And you will notice la fenêtre, the first E is E, la followed by the accent with a circumflex, the little house, meaning it's la fenêtre, la fenêtre. Then you've got another circumflex over hôpital. I know it's not an E, but it is there to show you that the little accent, the little circumflex often denotes that it used to be an S, such as hospital in English, hospital, hôpital. And then finally, in my examples, it's the famous verb être, to be. Without the accents, it would be être, être, but it's not. It's être, être. And finally, you've got E followed by an X. Well, guess what? This again has the change in the pronunciation, just like an accent grave. So un exemple is un exemple, 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 exemplaire, exactement, un ex-mari, a former husband. So whenever an X follows an E, it becomes exemple, exemplaire, exactement. Voilà, voilà. So I hope that you have learned a little bit. I hope you've enjoyed it. This will be a series, by the way, that we do on Zooming French. This happens to be the first, but you're probably also aware that there are other sounds in French that are equally tricky. One would be the letter U, as in tu, the second person singular. Another will be, for example, an S or a double S in the middle of the word. That's quite easy, perhaps. And then we'll go on to liaison. When do we do it? When do we don't do it? Between words, for example, nous sommes allés. Okay, nous sommes allés, that liaison. And then finally, we'll probably go on to the trickiest of all, this œil sound, which can be very tricky, like l'accueil, grenouille, very, very tricky words. L'écureuil, meaning a squirrel, very tricky. Anyway, enough for now. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please contact me, zoomingfrench@gmail.com. If you want to learn more, if you want to perhaps join one of our classes or a one-to-one, I'm very, very, very happy to talk about that. Bon, je vous souhaite une bonne journée et on se retrouve prochainement. Au revoir.